women to vote at an upcoming bishops' meeting. Ooh, good. Moving ahead in the church that women can now vote. So we'll talk about that moving forward. And, another question as to the final, as we're in the final weeks before the Philadelphia mayoral election, all important, May 16th, other elections of importance as well. But looking at that, we'll take a close look at last night, some of the fireworks going on, and also the Inquirer and my friend Christine Flowers blasting Helen Gim. Ha ha. So we'll talk about that moving forward. But I know some of you wanted to sound off about the breaking news of the day. This guy with legal permit to carry his firearm defends himself. That's his story to police, stays on the scene. It's a breaking news story that's still developing. They're still investigating it. But let's take your calls on that one. And that was, I think, was that John who wanted to talk about that? Yeah, John. Hey, John.
Hey, Dawn, I just wanted to comment real fast on that. I have no problem with somebody who legally carries and defends himself. That's the whole idea between concealed carry. I will say this, though, as a gun owner, and I highly suggest this to anybody who has a gun or is considering getting one, is to meet with a firearms professional, maybe possibly a police officer, because it's not just knowing how to shoot that gun at the target range. It's knowing how to stand, how to draw, how to pull it, because you're concealed. You got to pull that out. And there's a way to stand. You have to have a proper stance and that sort of thing. So just always keep that in mind. But, yeah, and the media is not going to be on your side. So know that right now. Another thing, too, Dawn, I have to comment about that guy you were talking about at the bar, the guy with the cerebral palsy. I remember watching that on the news. It was horrible to watch, but the guy who punched him, turns out there was more to the story. Apparently, they were hanging out at a bar. There was a local bar they came from, and the guy with the cerebral palsy was apparently a bit of a buster and was harassing that guy at the bar.
Oh.
And now they see each other at the 7-Eleven, and then the guy gets out. So that's why that guy, he didn't just randomly do it, but that story did come out. And I'm going to tell you this. Both my grandfathers, we had two bars in South Philly at one time. Both grandfathers opened bars in South Philly, still open today since Prohibition ended. And I bartended. We had a guy that used to hang at our bar. He was born with polio. I got to tell you what, he was the biggest buster you ever want. He was nonstop with people. He was nonstop. So, just because he has a handicap, they could still be a nasty drunk. So keep that in mind. Okay. Now, I'm just throwing that out there. It is what it is. But like I said, getting back to the gun, look, guys, my brother was a victim of gun violence. My brother went to Rutgers in Camden, 1973, was shot 4 times in the back. He was a sophomore at Rutgers. And in fact, Jessica Savage, I remember that was the big breaking news back then. And he survived. He lived. He still carries about a bullet and a half with him. He just retired. He's living in Ohio. He's healthy.
Thank God.
Big bike rider, all that. Yeah, but he survived. So I know all about that, like being the victims, having a gun or shooting victim in the family I grew up with. I was 12 years old when it happened. Oh, my God, I couldn't believe it. And going and seeing him laying in that hospital, Cooper Hospital, Camden, we didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen, but he came home, and I still can remember he had a slug of a bullet just under the skin between his ribs. He said, "Come here, feel this." I can still feel that. He took my 2 fingers, and I can still feel that bullet under his skin. So guns are no jokes. I have no problem with them. But I'll tell you what, it's not just buying the gun, guys, but it's learning how to use it. Meet with a police officer and take some lessons. You need to learn how to draw, how to stand, how to posture yourself, okay? You got to get that it's firearms coordination, all right? And that's all I have to say. Dawn, listen, you have a great day, and thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad your brother survived that, and you have the story to tell. Thank God.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you this, too. He's a big bike rider. Ready for this? He fell on his bike. He fell on his bike out in Ohio, and he cracked a rib. He goes in for the X-ray, and they come out, and they said, "You got bullet fragments." He had to tell that whole story. And twice he had incidents. One, he fell on the ice.
He's a tough guy for sure. Well, I thank you for the call today. Thank you so much. I want to get also to, do we have, nope, we dropped. Or maybe we do. Is this Brad in Quakertown? Hey, Brad.
Yes, it's Brad. How you doing? I'm a police officer in Philadelphia. 32 years. I see this all the time. They try to spin it that this guy who's not doing anything wrong, all of a sudden the media wants to say he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
If you're a criminal and you go out and try to rob people or hurt people, sometimes the tables get turned on you. And the people defend themselves. Now they're trying to make this criminal the victim.
Yeah.
Which is incorrect. You know, if you do something wrong, somebody turns the table on you, and this guy is just walking down the street, minding his own business. And, you know, luckily for him, he was able to defend himself and take action. And, you know, the guy who was killed has a long, you know, criminal record, and probably the other person they're looking for, too, is also involved in it. She just took off because he got killed or he got shot.
Yeah.
You see this all the time in Philadelphia.
And
people
so
have to, there's no police out there to help you. We're down to like 4,300 people. 2,000 people on staff. You make a call, you have to defend yourself. You have to be ready. We're coming maybe minutes, maybe hours later.
And so do you feel as somebody in law enforcement, do you feel that your city and those city leaders, that your city has your back? Or is that, how much does that play a role?
So when we go to training, and I get into arguments all the time, I was an instructor, a firearms instructor for 17 years. And that gentleman was just before me, John, excellent. You have to know what you're doing with the weapon. You can't just buy a weapon and think you know what you're doing. Yeah. You should go to the range. You should go to professionals and know how to handle it safely and how to defend yourself properly. But the leadership doesn't have your back. And when we go for training, they're always putting this little comments in you about what you should do. If you delay too long and you have a split second to decide if you're going to defend yourself or defend someone else, you might end up being a victim yourself or dead yourself or injured severely, or someone else may be. And it's all because the bosses, the leadership, stink, stank, stunk, you know, are doing this. Yeah. And people are doubting themselves, and that's why so many people are leaving. I mean, I'm in the drop. I got 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. I cannot wait to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's why I moved from Fox Chase to Quakertown. I love Fox Chase, but it's falling apart. The Northeast is gone. It's gone. And the leadership doesn't have you. They'll make me a scapegoat anytime they can.
Yeah,
I'm the white devil. That's what I am. I'm an old dinosaur cop who's a white devil to them. They want to get rid of me.
Well,
they can pay me out right now. I would listen today.
Please be safe, and thank you. You know, thank you for your service in Philadelphia. I hate to hear it, but I hear it. I hear it so often, just out on the streets in Philadelphia, in my life, going to, whether I go to the store, whether I see law enforcement, know those different officers, I hear that same sentiment echoed, and it makes me sad. And so I look forward as we have a new administration. I am saying my prayers, crossing my fingers that in Philadelphia, I am hopeful that a new administration will ring in an era where police do feel like city leadership has their backs. But that's going to take a lot in Philadelphia. And the problem is it'll take years to turn this around, because if you think about all the classes, the cadets, so-called, it takes a certain amount of time to train those officers. And so it's going to be a backlog. This is going to go on for a little bit here. And I don't know what the remedy for that is or how we do that unless we try to lure officers who are already trained, who are veteran officers from other parts of the country, whether it's people who want to leave New York City or leave parts of California, for example. Can we do that? I don't know what the answer is, but maybe you have some ideas. 855-839-1210. You know, one thing I wanted to talk about today, just as kind of a sidebar, I did see, we were talking about nostalgia and how it's so popular right now. Even with my kids, my teenage boys, they love to look back at all these shows that they can find streaming or on MeTV or whatever, whether it's old police shows, Columbo, and we were kind of having some fun with that this morning. But I did see Carol Burnett, it's her birthday. She's 90 years young today. And I know there are a lot of tributes to her online that has gone viral. Carol Burnett is one of the top trending people on social media today. Pretty cool story. So maybe we can celebrate. Maybe, I don't know if Jimmy Kelly does any Carol Burnett or any of the show characters. So maybe we can have some lighthearted moments with that, play some clips for you, and think about nostalgia and some of those shows that during a more innocent time that you all loved.
You know why they are so popular?
Why, Jimmy Kelly?
Because regular TV today is horrible. That's why they're so popular, because back then it took effort and talent to make those shows.
Yeah.
Today, I mean, when was the last time anybody ever talked about something that was on I guess you could say, four major networks, ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC? I can't remember.
Modern Family?
Yeah, I think you're right, Anthony. I think Modern Family was one of them. 24 was another. But
Modern Family is not for kids. That's not a family show.
It's not a family
adult
show.
Humor.
But I'm just saying, like with family shows, though, and various other shows, when was the last time you heard about anything that was on a regular network? Everything now is either Netflix or Paramount or Disney Plus or cable TV. Back in the 90s, the late 90s, just reigned supreme.
My husband loves The Voice on NBC.
Okay.
He loves that. That's like his guilty pleasure.
Right.
And I will sometimes watch, or I can't sit still, but I'm doing show prep. You know what I mean? But he does love that show, and if you want to talk about a family show,
right?
That's something that anybody can watch. It's not dirty or too adult.
Right.
Not political, allegedly.
Yeah, Family Hour was always, Friday nights on ABC. That was the big thing. That Thank God It's Friday on ABC.
I don't even remember.
Was the big thing. I think back in the late 90s, early 90s. I know in the 70s it was like that, with the Brady Bunch and Partridge Family and things of that nature.
Well, let's have some fun with that today. So 855-839-1210, our little sidebar with what nostalgic kind of shows you loved or still see. You can find them online or in your streaming service. But let me talk about this, because we're now in the middle of spring. I know it's kind of rainy weather today, but this is the best time of year, I think, to find that new or certified luxury vehicle that you've been wanting as you get ready for summertime and summer road trips. My friends from Piazza Premium Automobiles, they're always here for you to assist you in your unique vehicle search. And that's really across the tri-state area. Yeah, across the region. The Piazza Premium family, Piazza, featuring dealerships across Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey. Their newest location, Jaguar Land Rover, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So find your Alfa Romeo, your Maserati, your Mercedes-Benz, your Porsche, your Jaguar, or your Land Rover at PiazzaPremiumAutos.com. PiazzaPremiumAutos.com. Please let them know Dawn sent you.
Beach lives here. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
So 2 stories I want to bring to your attention. Number 1, man, I'm fired up over Dr. Fauci. What a liar, pants on fire. He makes, my blood boils when I see him speaking out. And just the arrogance to speak out and think that, oh, it's okay, we got it wrong. And then the way he tries to pull things backwards and try to reinvent history. But we all know, we all lived it, and it hurts. It hurts to hear Fauci speak out. And then I know that the teacher president, Randi Weingarten, she's supposed to testify. These liars. The fact that they still get paid, that really burns me up too. So we think about, I know Fauci he was doing interviews this morning. Do we have that? Yeah, listen to Fauci. How long ago was it that I talked about him, that he should be fired? Fire Fauci. Right? Now he's retired, so why is he out here? Remember, Senator Rand Paul had suggested that Fauci actually is maintaining some kind of a status so that the government would have to, cover the cost of his attorneys as they look into his past.
And
so keep that in mind.
And this specific clip, this is him this morning, and they're comparing it to October 2020. So a little bit of different messaging, but listen in.
There was a personification of me as a person who essentially closed everything down. Those were public health recommendations that came from the CDC, and I have always been very supportive of the CDC.
And when it became clear that when we had community spread in the country with a few cases of community spread, this was way before there was a major explosion like we saw in the Northeastern Corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area, I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
So shut the country down, he recommends to the president. But listen in, I want you to hear him as he continues on and defends himself. I don't know if you have this morning with CNN as well.
The beginning of that is this morning. So he says there was no personification of me as a person. I'll play it one more time, which clearly seems like he is contradicting himself.
There was a personification of me as a person who essentially closed everything down. Those were public health recommendations that came from the CDC, and I have always been very supportive of the CDC.
And when it became clear that when we had...
Now this is the old clip.
Community spread in the country with a few cases of community spread. This was way before there was a major explosion like we saw in the Northeastern Corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
Yeah, so Fauci is somebody who I remember, and I do have to find this. Because I remember when Zeoli was on in the morning, and we were all discussing this, right, as a community, and our instinct was this guy is a liar. Now at first we thought, okay, everybody trusted it. You could see that everybody trusted him, right? He's this biggity big researcher. He's been with the NIH all these years, blah blah blah. And then as time went on, and the lies. First it was, you remember this? You don't need a mask. And I remember saying on the air at one point that a local doctor, who I won't mention, who's a biggity big at a local hospital, had said, yeah, Fauci clearly lied. We all know that he lied, but he had to. Why? Because people would have gone crazy, and they would have been even ransacking, even hospital employees might have been ransacking the supply rooms and so on. People have been going crazy for the masks. I disagree with that philosophy. I did then, I do now. I think that we as people, you can trust us. Don't treat us like children who can. And by the way, I'm a mom who talks to my kids. I trust my kids. I've raised them to think for themselves, okay? So this whole idea that we're like a bunch of, I won't even say children, we're a bunch of idiots who can't do for ourselves is a disgrace. Fauci is a disgrace. But I remember texting as we went through those times and lived through it in real time. And then, God forbid, you were on Twitter or any social media and you pushed back. Oh, you were being shadow banned. You were being questioned. Maybe your account was being suspended. You had to explain yourself. Remember that whole thing? And so now we see this as he's now walking this back. It's infuriating to me because I remember Rich Zeoli going through as this went on, and I had privately texted Rich. And I said, you know what this is like? This is like a few years from now, it'll be like an episode of Scooby-Doo when in the very end, they take off the mask of the ghost or the bad guy and they go, look, it's old man Fauci. He was doing this. That's how I feel about, and at the time I was kidding around a little bit with Rich, but in all seriousness, you think about the impact on all of us, our mental health, our children, the loss of learning, the loss of jobs. And I want to bring this locally. Think about Philadelphia school children banned and barred from the classroom. There were kids that nobody even knew they were. They're still looking for some of the kids. They just vanished. What's up with that? And then you think about the fact that in suburban schools, remember this? When everybody was talking about the masks back and forth, and I just talked on Monday with Meg E. Brock, you can follow her on Twitter, Bucks County mom, that's when she started asking questions, right? Because we saw in Delco, Delaware County, Montgomery County, of course, Val Arcouche, they were all falling in line along all of this with Fauci and with the CDC, and they had their talking points. And it really was about the government realizing that they could be oppressive and they could take control. To me, that's what this was. It was a power move, and we all got played. But it was playing with our kids and our mental health and the elderly. It's sick. It's vile. Where's we saw the January 6th committee and we saw that. Where's the committee? And obviously there is a committee now. But where are these investigations? Where are these probes calling these people on the carpet, locally, nationally, etc.? Because I want to see the trial. I want to see the hearings. I want transparency. I want to see the emails. And you know who is still trying to get the emails? Some moms in Bucks County. They brought this to national attention right here in Bucks. Two everyday moms doing their jobs. They have their private lives. They have kids. They have jobs. And what did they do? They filed something that anybody can file. The journalists that I file all the time, these freedom of information requests, they filed them in Bucks County. What happens? Well, Meg Brock realizes, for example, that her phone at the county where she lives and pays taxes, they blocked her phone. She couldn't get through. She's like, why is this ringing and ringing? I can't get through. They blocked her. And then when she finally, through the courts, first of all, she files the FOIs, the request, Freedom of Information request. She files those, and the courts back her up and say to Bucks County, yes, this is the law, and by law, you must release this. They sue her. They're still suing her. And thank God for Judicial Watch and those attorneys who are representing moms like her, because who could afford such a thing? But now they just wear you down. They keep taking you back to court, taking you back to court. It's in the courts still. It's going through in these court appearances. It is baloney. And that's what Fauci, it's all part of this, getting these talking points. It's political. It's horrifying to me. And to me, why aren't these people facing some kind of charges, right? Why isn't that happening? It should be happening. We deserve answers as Americans, as taxpayers. Now, the other story, and this all ties together, is that there are reports, and this is Randy Weingarten, the American Federation of Teachers was apparently, reportedly, much more deeply involved with the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. And this will ring some bells for you. So this was the reopening guidance. That's what I'm talking about here. We were all reporting. I was reporting on this for Zeoli Show News at the time. Reopening guidance. This was February of 2021. Remember this? Well, now, here comes in the discovery process, because why Republicans control the House right now on a national level, and that's why we're getting some information finally. What are we getting? Emails and documents. And what do they show? They show, as suspected, you guessed it, powerful AFT boss Randi Weingarten. How does she keep her job? She was on the phone. Yeah, like, call me. She was BFFs, apparently, with the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, in the week leading up to February 12th of 2021, according to these published reports, right? And we suspected this. There were reports at that time that, remember this? The memo was leaked out, and I had reported it at the time. The memo leaked out, and you looked at the AFT memo, and then you looked at what the CDC guidance was, and you go, what a coincidence. The same wording, as if it's copied and pasted. Really so that was the announcement that halted the full reopening of in-person classes, including the day right before the guidance was released. And these are according to these public records first published by a conservative watchdog, Americans for Public Trust group. So these are these watchdog groups coming out here, and thank God, but filing these Freedom of Information requests as well. These are some of the things that you'll see as, Weingarten now faces the music and hopefully gets some tough questions. Hopefully we get some answers during the House, the committee hearings. Doubt it. But in my humble opinion, these people should face charges, or at the very least get fired. And why did they get their pensions if they're a government employee and they're lying to us and causing hardships in America? This is a sin. But AFT and the NEA, National Education Association, as you know, they were asking the White House and the CDC for help in shaping press strategy. Now, why are they working together with the government? That's terrible, colluding to show the rank and file that and the Biden administration that they were all on the same page. So that was we're just all trying to get on the same page. Why? Why is this? And you know that this union, so it's, wag the dog. In other words, these are unions who are basically telling an administration what to do and saying, if you want our votes and our support, then you better cough up because this is what we want. I'm not even saying that teachers necessarily support this, all the teachers, because I've talked to a lot of teachers and many of you have called in, but it is infuriating to me. The extent of the union's role intercepting, right, and trying to manipulate, and not just trying, manipulating government policy, having a hand in forming policy. This is not appropriate. It's not professional. We should have firewalls against this. This is not ethical. It's not right. Should not happen. So now Weingarten is set to face the House Select Subcommittee hearing about the effects of school closures on American children. But all these records are showing that Walensky took the calls from Weingarten the week before, 5 days before. So they're on the phone, they're back and forth, the emails, it's all what we suspected. But more than that, I'm going to say, how many times were you calling in at the time to the Zioli Morning Show or the Dom Show, whoever, telling us that, I'm being, I'm in trouble, I'm in Twitter jail, or I'm getting shadow banned, or why? Because it was all collusion, was it not? We now know that the government was influencing even the policy of social media companies like Twitter, right? So think about that. This was a group effort in a big way to silence us. This sounds like stuff that happens, in third world countries, in communist countries, not America, not in the USA. We'll see how the media reports on this. To me, my hands start shaking. I get so upset when I think about the impact on my own kids and how it impacted. And my goodness, I'm blessed that we had our kids in private Catholic school. But because our Catholic school, we're in Philadelphia, we were impacted. We were shut out. And what did the Sisters of St. Joseph say? And they were not political. They were just saying, we've been here for a long time. We've been here for 100 years, our order, and we've been through thick and thin. We've got this. because they were so motivated toward the children. And that was their focus, the children. You have to look at motive, right? Those who had a motive to just reach out and hug the children and be there for kids during a scary pandemic, right? It's a scary thing. We were all terrified. But look to those educators and those who ran schools, those who ran whatever business, that they were about the people. And when it comes to kids, those who were motivated to continue fighting for kids and educate our children. Look to the motive. And so I say to you, Randi Weingarten, what was your motive? You didn't care about my kids or any kids. You cared about your power. You cared about your union power and your money. You did not even, I don't even think it was really caring about the state of teachers and their mental health. I don't even think it was that. I think it really was about power, political power. It's ugly, it's brutal, it's vile, it's evil. And shame on her as somebody who claims to stand up for educators and educating children. It's a sin, as I say. I'm Dawn Stensland. You can find me on Twitter at Dawn Stensland. Want to hear from you on this one, 855-839-1210. Please sound off. Tell me about your journey, and think about the history of this, because we often try to forget, pain. We do. Emotional pain, physical pain. We try to put it behind us, which is important for healing. But at the same time, history matters, and we cannot forget. We must make these people accountable. 855-839-1210.
1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
So just updating you, and this is great news, one of our top stories of the day, having to do with a suburban murder of an innocent 10th grade kid, not far from home, walking home on a beautiful Friday night. And police made a real plea last night and this morning, as well as upping the reward money, $10,000 reward, by the way, in information leading to an arrest in the killing of a local 10th grade kid whose only crime, and I'm saying that in quotes, obviously, was that he was just walking home, innocent kid. So police in Upper Darby Township just releasing this. They say they've located a person that they were looking to speak with, and this is in connection with the stabbing death of 15-year-old Michael Gar. So I've been updating this story for you all week as this happened Friday night. And police said that they have just this morning, they're confirming they've located that person. This incident remains under the investigation. Yesterday, we aired that heart-wrenching interview that was done as some of the family members of Michael Gar have been speaking out, making pleas for justice, and also paying tribute to a great kid, a 10th grade kid. I mean, I have a son this age. It's devastating. You can't even imagine this. It happened on Bridge Street there. So they've been releasing different images, and thank God for some of the different, the Ring doorbell or maybe surveillance type video that they can freeze and zoom in. So now apparently they've located one person who, I don't know if this is a person who is a witness or is this a person of so-called interest. They're not really saying that. They're just saying they wanted to talk to this person. They're saying that they have no suspects identified. So this was, by all accounts, a stranger. And they're not sure what was the motive. Was this robbery? Was this, something where a case of mistaken identity? What happened here? That's the real question. But we've also talked about a GoFundMe page, the family grieving, the community grieving, such a shock. And I think across the region, a lot of these types of attacks on teenagers and kids have put parents on notice. I know for me, it does have a chilling effect, whether it's in the suburbs there in Upper Darby, whether it's in Philadelphia. You just say to your kids, you don't even want them walking around after dinner time. And some people even saying, not even after school, just stay home or maybe go out further. But this was in the suburbs. So and not far from home. His parents, he had communicated with mom and dad. Is this okay? They knew exactly what time he was coming home and all of that. And even if you're tracking your kid on Find My iPhone, I confess to doing that. Even if you're tracking your child, that one wouldn't have helped, because even if they're tracking him, they know where he is. He's called them. He's followed the parents' rules. That's not what is at issue here. The issue is somebody decided to stab this kid brutally in the chest. And even though neighbors rushed over and saw the after effects as he's bleeding, crying out, "Help me," they still can't help him. Apparently, he was saying the name Joe. And even though Joseph is his middle name, and I think I don't know if I reported this, but Joseph is his middle name, he never went by that. And so they were saying that was what one of the Good Samaritans who ran to his help. So was that a clue that he was trying to give, the name Joe or Joey? How is that significant? So we're following that one for you very well. There's so much other news of the day as we think about Philadelphia and the mayoral race. And we did have last night, I believe it was our final mayoral debate among the candidates. I want to also call your attention to, and I'm going to keep this one in the headlines, as we think about a very important local election outside of Philadelphia, not just the mayoral race, but this is that seat that I talked about yesterday and the day before, I think, that became vacant after Michael Zabel, who's a Democrat, had resigned. And this was in March, last month, amid those sexual harassment allegations. And he had essentially acknowledged this situation. He had resigned amid the pressure. We talked about it, and I had done interviews about it. But now we have a three-way race, and this is critical. So this is Heather Boyd, who's a Democrat, Katie Ford, who I've talked about, and we've invited Katie. I've reached out to her campaign and said, come on the show, call in 855-839-1210. We're here. We'd like to get to know you. Katie Ford, who's a Republican, and I heard Dom Giordano as well. They were trying to get her to call in just to know more about her. Also, Alfie Goodwin, who's the Libertarian. It's a three-way race, and I don't know, sometimes a third-party candidate can hurt the D's and the R's, so I'm not sure how that hurts, but three women in the race here. So this is a very important local election. Why? Because of the balance in the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. So this is District 163. But Katie Ford is an important force in the GOP, backing her, putting out word. I know she's very busy campaigning, going door to door. So I hope that you open your door for her and listen to what she's all about. She's a military veteran and a mom and somebody who in her life and her career and her training has worked to help others. So by all accounts, I'm hearing from friends and family, a great person there who wants to represent Pennsylvanians in District 163. That's Katie Ford, but impacting the balance of power in the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. So as we think about the final mayoral debate, let's talk about this. And this is 6 ABC. All the stations did cover this one. I know that the claws are out for, of course, as we've talked about, Jeff Brown, who's the only candidate who has ever been a business person in the region, right? And even though some of you have pushed back and say, well, he's wealthy, he inherited this line of grocery stores. Yes, it's true. It's a family inherited company. I will say about Jeff Brown, he built that family business. In other words, he helped build it. He helped grow the family business. And that's important. There are some people who inherit something and then you see it, the business is shattered or it doesn't do too well. He certainly took something that he inherited. He's known as working hard and expanding and really growing that business. And also he's known for hiring people who, yes, served their time, were convicted of various crimes, served their time, did the right thing, turned their lives around, and want that second or third chance. And he's known for that in the community. But the claws are out for Jeff Brown. I also have seen some claws out for Helen Gim. So here's 6 ABC. Let's listen in.
We have that's the whole.
I thought you had the.
No, I have sound on it. It's a 6 ABC hosted the entire debate.
I thought you had the news.
There's an NBC 10 news wrap on Jeff Brown and his super PAC money, though, specifically after last night. If you wanted to hear that.
Okay, let's listen.
I have that right here. Let's listen.
At City Hall, a legal case in the midst of a mayoral race. The city's ethics board alleging coordination, a candidate crying foul.
They're not supposed to make this political. They're not supposed to interfere.
And what tells you that it's political? What about it tells you that it's political? What evidence do you have of that?
Everything that they were thinking about, they leaked to the press.
That was candidate Jeff Brown on NBC 10 at Issue, talking about a lawsuit by the city's Board of Ethics that claims a PAC and a nonprofit coordinated with Brown circumventing campaign finance limits.
What he said was that there was information being leaked to the press. Was that happening from you or your office?
No, it wasn't.
Shane Creamer is the executive director of the Ethics Board. He said of Brown's claims this is political.
I think those allegations are baseless. The board is an independent board. We don't report to politicians. I report to an independent 5-member volunteer board. We're acting on facts and evidence.
Today, a judge signed off on an agreement in which the PAC and nonprofit, both with the name For a Better Philadelphia, agreed not to spend any more money to influence the outcome of the election. But it does not resolve the larger issue, the allegation of coordination.
Many months before I was a candidate, I did help them raise money. And we believe we complied with every law that pertains to this.
From our perspective, he came to a dinner. He may have made some phone calls, but we don't think that rises to any type of collusion or coordination.
Matthew White is an attorney representing the For a Better Philadelphia PAC and nonprofit. He pointed to the timing of the lawsuit filing the day before a televised debate.
I think all this is going to impact the election.
I wouldn't know how to say that. I'm not an election expert.
Okay, so it's critical to think about what happened there in the context of the confrontations and the accusations back and forth. We've got to take a quick break because we have a lot to get into. We'll delve into that and much more right here on The Dawn Show.
Hey, it's Rich Zeoli. If you own a home that's a little bit older like I do, it's built better.
Free Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. The Dawn Stensland Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Tick-tock. You think about the winding down to the big mayoral election in Philadelphia, May 16th. There are 6 candidates on the side of the Democrats. Obviously, David O. running as a Republican. And then we do have the Committee of 70 that I've talked about. Their poll is going to be out supposedly early next week. I know a lot of people might be nervous about that, those candidates, but Committee of 70 is widely respected, and they're polling Philadelphians to see which candidates are speaking to Philadelphians. So, of course, we're going to have that when it breaks. But we have Almond Brown, then we have Jeff Brown, we have Alan Dom, who, as you know, with Alan Dom, he's a realtor, biggity big businessman who plotted this out for many years, decided to go from being a realtor, business person, entrepreneur, ran for city council first. So he's been planning this run for quite some time. And we have Helen Gim, who we all know well, right? Sherelle Parker and Rebecca Reinert. And by the way, Rebecca Reinert, there was a moment that I hope we can get to this sound where she and Almond Brown get into it. And he actually accuses her in those famous commercials with former Philadelphia mayors, Michael Nutter and John Street, of referring to them as boys, and how she reacts to that. Because if you've seen the commercial, she never says that. But that kind of back and forth, that was a very bad moment for Almond Brown. But let's take you first to, as they address money, right? Campaign dollars. And we've talked a lot about where they get their money, their donations, right? So Sherelle Parker has said that she is more of a grassroots campaign, that so much she's raised money, and we know she's done a good job, and she has hung in there, right? And she represents my district in Chestnut Hill, but she has said that she hasn't gotten a ton of this outside money. And what is she alluding to? Oh, that she's not one of those, outsider like George Soros kind of people. That's what she's alluding to there when she says, I haven't gotten any of that outside money. But follow the money. It's important to think about who was able to fundraise, but also who's donating to their campaigns. That tells us a whole lot. So listen in. We'll take you through these 6 different candidates now. Sherelle Parker getting Green's endorsement, which is expected. Sherelle Parker really, and I've gone through the list, she has really certainly garnered the most support and endorsements from other lawmakers, other Democrats, whether it's at a city level or a state level. And that shows a lot about her as well as somebody who is well liked in the workplace, can work with people and get along with people. I would say that says a lot, but maybe that tells you, well, she's part of the swamp and she's a career politician. And I wouldn't say that about her, but we'll go through it. So let's think about these different candidates and take you through as they talk about the donations, as they talk about ethics.
Sherelle Parker, Rebecca Reinert, Helen Gim all received support of super PACs.
Super PAC, you can't coordinate with a super PAC, so can't answer.
And unlike Jeff Brown, our super PACs actually disclose their donors.
Jeff Brown.
I want to point out that almost everyone up here has had ethics problems and have had claims.
That's not
and
true.
Helen is one of the, I didn't say everyone, I said almost everyone.
That's not true.
And Helen was one of the largest ones.
Go ahead, Helen.
Well, first of all, that's not true. You have me confused with Alan Dom, who actually had a conflicts of interest fine lodged against him on ethics. So I have not had any ethics issues with our campaign, and I've been very clear about that. Unlike you, Jeff, who has actually had an full-on ethics investigation on an unprecedented level, to the point that the ethics board had to sue you and had to get involved in a way that we've never seen in this election actually before.
I think I need to have Alan Dom in here too, say a few words if you'd like.
Sure, I had one violation to my knowledge, and I didn't vote on the bill, but I didn't disclose why I didn't vote on the bill. I didn't know that, and that was the violation.
5 seconds.
But let me say this, Matt. I have Claire Finkelstein from University of Penn, who did a full ethics plan for me. She did President Biden's plan, and I will put that in place. She's excellent.
Rebecca,
I just wanted to say about the campaign that I've been running, which is 78% funded with Philly donors, 51% gave $100 or less. That's what this is about. Yes, money is a part of politics, but it's about it should be about a grassroots effort, and that's what I'm leading here.
Yeah, so first of all, you hear the back and forth on this, and that's why it was important for you to hear the entire report talking about Jeff Brown and tabling that ethics probe going back and forth. Look, it's Philadelphia and it's City Hall. And so I thought the one who handled that the best, in my humble opinion, Alan Dom, because he keeps it simple, very straightforward. This is what I did. And I didn't know that. He confesses it, puts it out, boom, it's done. I didn't vote. I didn't say what the conflict was. I should have stated it. You heard him. It's just very straightforward, simple, state it, boom. And nobody can contest it. It's only when you try to say, oh, well, I didn't actually do anything wrong, then you let people go down that rabbit hole. But I think he handled that in a very straightforward, simple way. I think the weirdest moment of the night that I had alluded to was when State Representative Almond Brown, who you've heard him a lot for the past, year? Rich Zeoli has interviewed him for a year or two now, because he's somebody who did grow up in Philadelphia, was actually a shooting victim, and understands the streets of Philadelphia. And I think that's what Zeoli liked. I think Almond Brown actually showed up at one of Zeoli's events when Zeoli was raising money for law enforcement and that sort of thing. And he was it down the Jersey Shore, I believe? And Almond Brown actually showed up for one of those events. And so they got to know each other. So Almond Brown does have a lot of great ideas, as far as he was the one who kept saying, why are we just taking dangerous criminals and putting an ankle bracelet on them and then churning them back onto our street corners and thinking that anything will be different? So Almond Brown, though, accuses former city controller Rebecca Reinhart of referring to two distinguished gentlemen in Philadelphia, two former mayors, and claims that she had referred to them as boys. Right? Do you have that moment, Anthony? Do you have that? Or I'll just say it.
I have the whole file here. I have it somewhere. All right. Give me 1 second.
I can just say it, but it was a bad moment for Almond Brown. I don't know. Maybe it was he heard it. He thought that she said boys. But if he's referring to the commercial, in the commercial, she says something about these guys. So I don't know if he thought that she said boys or what. He needed to have the audio or the specific. I think that he just heard it wrong and thought that she referred to them as these guys. But he states to her, well, is that how you refer to African-American, gentlemen as boys, making that like racial kind of a insinuation? And then she's just she just at that moment, and she just was surprised. I think she didn't know. And she goes, what? I didn't say that. I never said that. And so then she just said, that's not true, or something to that effect. That's not true, she said. But if I'm getting it right, if he's quoting the commercial, then she does say, at one point she says something about these guys or something, and she's trying to be casual with them, and they walk with her. Remember, in that one commercial I think we played, and you see the two of them, and it looks like, your dad and your stepdad walking down the aisle and giving you away at your wedding or something. It's a little bit awkward because they're all walking side by side. But I mean, obviously, Reinhart is very, it's a big get that she has two former mayors who were considered successful in Philadelphia, well-liked former mayors. And a lot of people I know recently had even said on social media, it had gone viral, where they were saying, hey, Michael Nutter, run again. We hope that you would run again. And he came out and said, I'm not going to run again. But two popular former mayors. So that was kind of this kind of oddest moment and sort of awkward. And she had this look on her face like, what? So not a good moment for Representative Almond Brown, unless he has audio that we don't know of at some point. But I don't see that she ever called them quote unquote boys. I think it was that she said guys in the commercial. That's my take. So is there any other audio that struck you as far as besides the campaign stuff, Anthony?
Yeah, there's obviously questions about crime and Krasner, and they all have different angles. I think all of them are pretty interesting. And Amin Brown they even bring up as being the harshest against Krasner. But interesting.
And he's done that on Zeoli.
Yeah, I know. I know he's spoken out a lot with us on that, but they all kind of go through it here. We can stop, and there's a bunch. I mean, they really debated a ton, but let's listen to some of it.
Krasner, Larry Krasner, Daniel Outlaw here. The next mayor will work with the district attorney over the last 2 years of his second term. We'll decide whether to retain Police Commissioner Daniel Outlaw. We'll confront issues like stop and frisk, police recruitment and diversity of the force, police funding levels, and how some officers are taking advantage of the Pennsylvania Lung and Heart Program, which gives injured officers a 20% raise while on disability. Sherelle Parker, you support stop and frisk policies to reduce crime. Some people say these same policies are leading to people getting targeted by race. How do you resolve that, and what do you think about the district attorney and the police commission?
So first things first,
Sherelle Parker.
I am the candidate who offered the legislation that put an end to unconstitutional stop and frisk here in the city of Philadelphia. And I am proud that I gave Philadelphians a voice in that effort. In addition to that, I support what is called Terry stops. That means that any law enforcement officer must have just cause and reasonable suspicion that a crime is occurring, will occur. And I am unapologetic about being willing to use every tool, legal tool in the toolbox to make our public safety and health our #1 priority. In addition to that, we can't forget about the convening power of the mayor. I will bring the best and the brightest from across the nation and here in our great city to help to advance my agenda to make us the safest, cleanest, and greenest big city in the nation that provides access to opportunity for all. And it won't be finger pointing about who didn't do what. I'm going to unify our city and bring people together.
Otherwise known as constitutional stop and frisk for people at home. Alan Dom, you want to bring Daniel Outlaw back?
I've seen Daniel Outlaw, and I want to give her the opportunity to interview her. I believe her hands have been tied. I've seen this several times that her hands are tied. So we'll give her the opportunity. I look at it this way, Matt. If the Eagles are losing, do you fire the coach or do you fire the quarterback? I believe you fire the coach. I would give her an opportunity to perform. If she can't perform, then I'll seek another police commissioner.
Helen Gim, you've given public support to the district attorney, Larry Krasner. How do you resolve that when many people in the city believe his policies are not working and are actually making crime worse?
Well, Larry Krasner is an elected official and duly elected by the city, by the citizens of this city. And it is my responsibility to ensure that there is a unified approach towards how we take a look at crime and charging and prosecutions and responsibility. Under my administration, I believe that I'll be the person to actually lead a unified voice so that businesses, residents, police officers, and Philadelphia understands that we are going to have a common approach. We're going to hold people accountable. We're going to make sure that justice is swift, fair, and certain. And I think that I can do that
Brown,
with all the people involved.
You have been the most critical of the district attorney. Why is that?
You said it. A lot of our citizens feel as though he's failing us. His policies do not work in communities, especially like where I come from, and specifically his catch and release policies. Our law enforcement officers, they are catching the repeat violent offenders, but then they're being released back into my community, and that is not okay. We have thousands of open violent bench warrants, and we have these same individuals running around with ski masks on. That's why my public safety plan will ban ski masks day one.
Yeah, and so I love that, but I don't know how he enforces that with the ski masks, or is that probable cause? So that's a big question, and that has made headlines this week with Amin Brown. But you can see where I think a lot of people are drawn to somebody like Amin Brown, very plain spoken, openly critical of Krasner for a long time. I like that personally. You know, Helen Gim, can you imagine? I can't imagine her. She's like
he's an elected official.
Yeah. Excuse me, he's an elected official, and that's my talking point. And she's just unbearable.
I'm currently working on a Helen Gim imitation,
Good.
by the way.
Mine isn't bad.
No, it's really good.
Right? Not bad.
No, but, I want to tell you that, you're listening to the Dawn Stenslin Show on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
But you got to go way back in your throat. Because it's
way back in okay, so I will try to do it as best I can, Dawn. I'm just working on it as I go along.
It's like when you're a kid. You're a kid and the doctor says, let me look at your throat.
Yes. I just feel that, in Philadelphia, we have a lot of problems, but you could take a break and listen to the Dawn Stenslin Show.
Well, before we take a break, we do want to talk about Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding. I just think so highly of the Chapman family team, Mike and Mark Chapman. They're just great, hardworking guys, dads, husbands. They have a great team, and they did such a beautiful job. So we love all the work they've done in our home, especially those patio doors that I'm always raving about. You got to see all the amazing options that are available to customize your home. If that's what you need, that's what you're going to get with the Chapmans. The new two things I'll highlight, the Nana Wall product, gorgeous wall of glass doors and windows. It really can transform your home and bring the light in, open things up. Also, Chapman offers those premium architecture shutters designed to last a lifetime with those stunning hardware options, and everything has a lifetime warranty. Just some of the unique Chapman differences that I'm always raving about. They do meticulous work, outstanding service, high-quality products installed by high-quality people. I always say I love the guys when you could just see the camaraderie and the pride that they take in their work, and also that they've been there a long time. And that's a piece of it. Somebody that works, they're happy in their work, they're proud of their work. That's important, right? And they're glad to be part of the Chapman family team. So if you text them or call them right now, whoever answers you is somebody who's local, who's here, who works for Chapman. It's not some random person from out of the country or out of state. 610-431-8898, 610-431-8898. You can always visit them online, take a virtual tour, and you can see the latest of what they're offering, whether it's windows or siding. So it's ChapmanWindowsDoors.com.